And tomorrow, which is the day you're going to see the video, I'd speak in mysteries because I don't put this up until tomorrow, so I kind of talk that way. But when you see this video on, let's see, today, when you see it Wednesday, we're going to also be going to Kingsville with David, my friend David. We're going to do a little fellowship. Now, I told Crow, Crow didn't make a lot of the meetings I was doing a couple years ago. Frankie was in the meetings that I did at Angel's Halfway House. Right. But I had a few guys that we would drive all the way, I was telling them. And on the way back, sometimes we stopped here at North Beach. And we just picked up some sodas and snacks, and I get the cigarettes. I used to get the cheap cigarettes. So today's kind of restoring some of that. I wanted to mention a few things because after I made the first video, then I talked to a friend of mine for a while. His name is Alan. Alan is like an apostle. The gift of apostle, the Bible talks about in a certain way. And I've known Alan. He's been homeless for many years. But look, Alan, even though he looks like you didn't catch him on video because I didn't have it on. But he's been in some famous churches here in Corpus Christi, and people like the churches that are in the gifts of the Spirit and all, which I believe in. I've heard pastors say when Alan comes in, this is apostle sent to you. You know, a lot of those interesting things happen with Alan. But I talked to Alan for about maybe an hour, and the guys were waiting for me because we were going to come out here and do a little fellowship. But you know, it's interesting because I asked Alan, how you doing, brother? And he just wanted to really be able to talk because he very much has had a lot of years doing preaching, being in ministry. And sometimes the churches that Alan would attend, they'll receive him, but then later maybe it's kind of like he shared that history with me a few times, like, oh, they don't want me to come back, John, or whatever. But it's interesting because this is what Alan was telling me, and he's very gifted, the older man I'm telling you about. He said, you know, John, a lot of the churches, he says, they want to build good churches, and they want to start their churches, and he knows many of the pastors. He said, but you know, in the parable of what we call the prodigal son, that Jesus told a story. He said, there's a guy that had 100 sheep, but then one of them got lost. And he left the 99 and he went after the one. And Alan is telling me, which I also believe in, he said, really the job of the church or the Christians are to go after the ones that are astray. It's not to like live your whole life amongst other Christians that are all in church and everybody's doing well. And Alan was telling me, but most of those pastors, John, he said, they're missing their calling because they're not really going after the one. And I said, Okay, guys, now I'm commenting. I've been trying to redo this video a few times already. And if I had a chance, I'd explain it to you. Because it's been a problem I had starting last night. So if I could play... deity, that question came up. Okay, if I could play it. Maybe after I shut the first video off, the question of the deity of Christ came up. And my friend Bobby, who you see speaking on the first video, he's very knowledgeable in the Bible. And somebody else brought up that Jesus is not God. And I understood, I believe in the deity of Christ, and I tried to explain. I said, well, some people, but Jesus was God in the flesh. So the discussion we were having was called the deity of Christ. And Bobby was a little upset because he knows the Bible well. And as I spoke to Alan was quoting these verses. He says, you know, John talked about angels, which we were discussing. And then he said, he was quoting a verse that said, I think he wants a cigarette. I'm sorry. This is part of the fellowship. And Alan was quoting the verses from Isaiah that say, calls Jesus the everlasting Father, the mighty God, the Prince of Peace. That's from the book of Isaiah. It's talking about Jesus. And it says, everlasting Father. And then I quoted the one from Hebrews, where it's talking about Jesus. And it says, to none of the angels did God say, your throne is forever. But to the Son he saith, your throne, O God. And those are references to what we call the deity of Christ. And then Alan was saying, and you know, when the doubting disciple Thomas doubted that Jesus rose from the dead, and then Jesus appears to Thomas in the Gospels and says, touch the hold in my hand, put your hand, and my apostle Alan was saying, Thomas said back to Jesus, my Lord and my God. Now all of that was true, and that was about the deity of Jesus. And it was interesting because that was part of our discussion today, which had to do with the deity of Christ. And so that's why I very rarely will do 2 videos like in one day. But I want you to see that this is how, today I didn't know I'd run into Crow or Frankie. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to take a few guys and we're going to go to Kingsville and do another fellowship. But what I usually tell everybody, if you watch the videos with Pops, I didn't rewatch this, but I remember. The last video, Pops died. Pops, see, look, Crow didn't know. A lot of the guys, Pops died. Some of my friends don't know. And Crow knew Pops. Pops died a couple months ago. And I, of course, on the videos, I've discussed it a lot. He was an old friend of mine, Frankie, that I was helping. And so you get to see, Crow found out a lot of things we know from word of mouth, friends that are on the streets and all. But I remember this, the last video that I made with Pops. I was at David Martin's apartment, and an old friend that Pops knew for years by the name of Jude McCusker. That was the first time they got together in maybe a year. So it was like a little reunion. And I remember on the video, I'll tell you a little secret here. On the video I said, I want you guys to share, to talk. I said, in every video we make, I said, think of it as your last video. Now, I don't want you guys scared like, man, he said that to Pops and he died. But I tell people, think of it as, what would you tell people if you felt this is, because some of my friends, you ain't seen them in a while on the video. So I tell them, look, this is opportunity. And I remember that day I said that to Pops. Now, Pops talks a lot, and he did share, he talked about Jesus. Some guys didn't share. And sure enough, that was the last time I saw Pops. I had no idea he was going to pass away. But I say that because what I try to tell people is, we have, every one of us has a message, a story that could maybe help other people. So every time we open the video, whether tomorrow will be my friend David, who I have a long history with, many years, David. The original church I started, David was one of the guys. If he wants, I'll let him tell some of the stories. But I just became friends with David. We were the same age, and he became involved in the preaching I was doing. But every one of us is going to have an impact. And I just wanted to mention how my older friend Alan, you did not see on the video, but he's been around for many years. He was just talking about how God revealed a lot of things over the years to him. He was saying so much. He said, John, he said, you know, a lot of pastors, he said, they don't want to be on the streets because, he says, they're afraid. And, you know, I'm not afraid to be on the streets, but those of you that watch the videos, sometimes I'm like, that's it, I'm done, you know. But I get bored unless I'm interacting with people. And I thought that was really a word because I'm not, you know, if you're doing ministry, but most of it is simply, quote, in the church building, and I think you're missing out on the experiences that people have. As we drove up here just a few minutes ago, I told Crow and Frankie, I said, you know, a lot of people rent these hotels here, these kind of, you know, maybe $1,000 a night or whatever. I said, and they just do it so they could come out here. I said, all that money. I said, I've got a lot of homeless friends that come out here and it doesn't cost them $1,000. Now, I'm not saying it's great to be homeless. I'm saying a lot of people are spending all their time, even church ministry, in some building somewhere. And I think they're missing out on, like Alan said, go after the one sheep that's lost, okay? That was kind of why I wanted to redo it, to give you a little update. And I always do a surprise whenever I come here. It was a surprise. I got a brother in the back. I don't know who that is. One time I did a whole teaching video, like one of these benches up there. That's the Lexington. And I remember when I was done, there's a bunch of people that were right behind me, which was fine. They were listening to the whole thing, but I didn't realize, they were there. But that was fine. They were just hanging out. I baptized, I was doing pro. I baptized Lance out here a couple years ago. I baptized a few people out here. What I might wind up doing, after I shoot the video, I might wind up just jumping in and swimming. I just take the shoes off and I swim, and then I get the car wet. I make sure my wallet and everything's down. Do any of you guys want me to baptize you in this North Beach? If you want, the video stays on and the other one holds the video. But I always offer that. Does anybody want to get baptized? Baptism, pro, as you know, I have a lot of ministry with a lot of Catholics. I go to the Cathedral Catholic Church here. It's really my home church. But baptism, you're not supposed to, or it doesn't happen more than once. But what I do with some of the guys that were baptized, a lot of Protestants tell Catholics, we do not recognize your Catholic baptism. I don't say that, because my Catholic baptism as a child, I still recognize it. Later, yes, I don't reject it. A lot of the Mormon church. I was going to say Mormon church. I have a lot of friends. Those are my friends that are very theological. What I do, Jimmy D was Mormon, and even I told Jimmy, and I did baptize him. Oh, were you here when I didn't even know Crow was ever in those. But what I tell the guys normally, I remember I kidded Jimmy because I told Jimmy, whenever you guys want to get baptized, you can get baptized. And some of them had said, oh, John, I was baptized as a Mormon, or I was baptized as a Catholic. Look, I don't get into the debates with the guys. I tell them that's okay. I said that what we're trying to, baptism signifies like a cleansing, a new washing, and some of the guys I think need that. Some of them want to do more than once. I think Matt I baptized, Cameron I baptized, then Matt, I'm ready to go again. I said, well, I don't. But I remember Jimmy, when I told Jimmy D, I guess Crow held the camera the day I baptized him. I told Jimmy, I said, look, whenever you want to get baptized. And then one time he told me, because he's Mormon, he said, well, I asked my mom, and my mom said, I shouldn't get baptized. I said, well, I was kidding you. I said, it's all right, brother, if you want to disobey God's word. Wow. I said, well, there's that verse that says, if thou askest thou mom if you should be baptized, thou art in rebellion. Of course, that was a joke, but I mention it because I do this as, it's not an official, you're getting baptized by a church. Jesus and John the Baptist, they did baptisms, Jordan River, water and stuff. And for the guys that I feel, whenever they want, I always make the offer. I didn't tell them if you want, you can get baptized. I didn't just come out here for that. But if any of you feel like you want to get dunked, it's going to be a cleansing, like, that's how we see it, as we're identifying it. That we're talking about. So it's up to you. If not, we don't do it. It's up to you. And I always make that offer. And if not, you could also share something. Or if you want to, does anybody want to take the plunge? The way I do it is I just baptize people. You see me do. I just say this is like a fresh beginning, and then we go on there. And you got to live by what I do is I leave my camera and I take my wallet out and I leave it here with the person who's going to videotape. In the wallet, I always have 1,000 that I also leave on the. I'm just kidding. Frankie's like, okay. Now, anybody wants to take the dip? You're up to you. I'm not forcing anybody. Okay, Frankie.
I don't care. I just might have to make it up more clothes.
That's right. If you want it, you can. It's a problem. That's right. Sometimes I get wet, but I change my clothes. Maybe next time I just throw that out because I always do that.
You guys ain't clothes for you over here.
I have clothes at the house, Frankie. If you want to go in.
I mean, the Lord means more to me than anything.
If you feel that what it represents,
just the illness and crying.
Yeah.
I worry about that.
Yeah. If you want to go in and get baptized, what we'll do is we'll go in, and then we'll be wet, and then when we go back to the house, I give you some jeans and a shirt. But I always make that offer. To me, it's not a pressure thing. To me, it's a thing where I tell the guys, because sometimes we feel like the Bible talks about getting defiled, getting dirty, because we're in the world, and we sometimes just feel dirty. And oftentimes people that were involved in all types of stuff, they're like, I know Jesus forgave me, and sometimes they feel. I've heard stories of like people, girls that were hookers for years or whatever, and then they said, I can't wash it off of me. Baptism doesn't quote wash it off of people, but they feel like, and baptism to me, when I do it in this manner, it's just for the people that feel. And you want to do it, Frank? Crow, you're going to hold the camera again. Sure. Yeah, let me see how. Okay, so we're going to do baptism. This will be. Yeah, shoes off. I go in with my shirt and pants. I just take my wallet out, and I let Crow just hold it that way. Because I mean, you got to understand. And then when we go back to the house, right? And then I'll look at the dryer. Okay, that'd be good. And this was unplanned, but this is something we were doing a lot a few years ago. You got a good shirt? Yeah, sure. I like it. But you can. All right. I'm ready to go. You take myself. Don't get naked. No, sure. I got it is good, Crow. And then you can narrate and tell some of your story if you want. Talk about anything you feel like you can do. Okay? I'm done baptizing Frankie. I've been swimming a little, so when I'm done and I give you the high sign, you just hit that red camera button and it'll shut it. Okay? That way you don't have to keep it. All right.
My name is Crow, and on John's note, I will like to give a story about the deity of Christ and how it was best described to me. But I don't want to miss the baptism, so here we go. As you can see, he takes it very seriously, Frankie. If not reluctantly. There he goes. There. All right. You see the baptism. And now my story about the deity, the way it described to me was Christ is like if you were out in an empty lot and they're fixing to pave a road in there, and there's some ants down there, and you know that this paving machine and everything is going to destroy them and their whole colony, and you want to save them. Well, how would you do that? If you're a man and you walk over there and start trying to grab all the ants to move them, well, of course they're going to bite you and sting you because they don't know you or understand you. And of course the only solution is that you descend down to their size and their likeness, but retain your upper level of knowledge so that you can tell them about what is coming and what they need to do to escape this destiny. And that's what was best described to me, as for the deity of Christ. And on that note, I will let them continue swimming, go guard your things, and you have a blessed day. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn it around. I'm not sure if y'all can see me or not. Let's see. Okay, you can see me because I can see myself in the mirror. So I'll end this and then I'll upload that. And I'll explain what all that was about. Today is September, I think it's the 4th, 2024. And when I was uploading or posting videos, I have a whole system. That computer you just saw on, that's an old computer that I repaired myself over the years, and it doesn't even have a keyboard. And what I used to do is which I did today, is stick and mouse, external keyboard. And the reason I did that was last night when I was uploading videos, I thought that I didn't remember I had baptized Frankie. And I guess I mentioned on that video, I baptized Lance, Cameron. So there were different brothers. I remember the Jimmy D baptism, and Crow held the camera that day. So I have one where Jimmy D got baptized. What we were doing at that time, that video was from 2016. And what we were doing at that time was, I can't see myself because I turned the camera around because I had the camera facing forward for that video. Normally when I'm recording, I have it where I could see myself in the screen. But during that season, we were doing a lot of Bible studies in Kingsville, in Bishop, and then even up in San Antonio. And I took a lot of the friends from Flower Bluff and Corpus. We went in fellowship with Kingsville and Bishop and all these towns, and did that for a few years. Frankie, I haven't seen him in a while, who I baptized in this video. He was in the Bible studies I did at a little halfway house here in Flower Bluff, which a friend of mine, a sister by the name of Angel, and her husband Jesse, they hosted Bible studies once a week and a nice meal and all. And so that was a season in time for those few years. And when that video did not upload or post last night, I have the list of catalogs of old videos. I thought, let me see if I can mess with it. It's a miracle that you'll see that video, only because that file was corrupted, meaning on the flash drive, I never moved that file onto all of my other external drives, backups and all. So I didn't have it anywhere saved. But I won't show it to you, but I have about 4 or 5 old little flash drives in a file box. But if I don't move them over to the external drives over the years, it meant there was something wrong with that video. So I must have recognized, or the computer picked up, that was a corrupted file. So last night when I was going to upload that, post it as a homeless video, I thought YouTube had removed it, but it wasn't them, because you have problems with these sites and you never know what they're doing. So I said the only way I'll maybe be able to do it, last night I tried to watch it on my regular laptop, which is the Windows Media Player. And I remembered you could download the VLC free media player. I used to use that. It's a free media player, software which you put on your laptop. And I remembered I could have downloaded it, but I didn't want to mess with my regular computer or laptop. So that old one, I think I had it on there, which I did. And you'll notice as you watch that video, that was me recording from my phone from that laptop. There are a few bad spots in that. So I'll end it with that. I tried to recover, and I actually said, Lord, this would be a miracle if we can recover it in any way. And there were different ways I could have tried to recover it. I did try to run a scan on that particular zip. I converted the zip to a regular MP4, MP3, back to regular zip. So there were 2 or 3 things. And over time, I learned you don't waste too much time, particularly on one video. But anything like that I don't have a lot of videos from those meetings I did with those guys. And so the few I have, I try to recover. So that'll be just called, that's Frankie's baptism. I was thinking it was Jimmy D's because I remember baptizing Jimmy D. And in the process this morning, I did do my regular posting on this Thursday of September. I think it's the 4th or the 5th of 2024. I also wound up uploading to OneDrive about 7 or 8 files, which was another obstacle. I had some problems with those. And the lesson would be, if you looked at all the different, you saw that one little laptop I had there. If you looked at all the different devices and all, oftentimes I think, I don't remember how to do a lot of things. And as you're going through, you say, okay, that's the next step. That's the next step. And so that's with the process of that. So I'll just end it there. I'm glad you got to see Crow. I have not seen Crow in a few years. I know his health is not well. But pray for all my friends. And I continue to pray for you guys. And that's the purpose when you see the ones I post called homeless videos. Okay? God bless everybody. I'm going to upload it from my, now I just made a file on my phone by recording it that way, okay? God bless everybody. My screen is locked, but I am swiping it.